I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 91, Emotional Scapegoat. Your life does not have to revolve around your husband's pornography addiction. You are not defined by his choices or by what he sees on a screen. You are not just the porn addict's wife. You are so much more. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to go from handling it to healed, because I've been where you are and you don't have to stay there. My name is Jolene Wynn. I'm a member of the LDS faith, a certified life coach, and a wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? Happy Monday. Did you guys have a good week? I had a great week. It has been such a fun month. I was talking to my husband last night, just thinking about everything that happened in the month of January. You guys, a lot happened in the month of January that I'm so excited about. I feel like doors have just kind of opened with my business, and I'm so excited about it. January was the month that I officially started this brand new format of my coaching program that I'm just super excited. And I had so many women join this month, which was so fun. And I also submitted my manuscript for my book. And I got to be on several other people's podcasts, which will be airing soon. And that was just so incredibly exciting. And I also got to start working with a company called Save the Kids. Do you guys remember Colin Karchner? If you guys are not familiar with Colin Karchner, go look up the Colin Karchner podcast. This was a man on a mission to help reconnect kids with their parents and with each other on a human level, not on a virtual level. And he started this pre-pandemic, and then he actually passed away just in the fall after the pandemic started. And his whole mission was to stop giving kids smartphones and to reconnect with kids. And so they started this company called Save the Kids, and I reconnected with them, and they are, revamping after he passed, and they're revamping and getting speakers again. And I am super excited that I am now one of their speakers. And so I am going to start speaking about reconnecting and pornography and social media and all of that to parents and to teenagers. And I'm just super pumped about it. So, hey, if you guys want me to come speak where you are, shoot me an email. We'll figure it out. Okay. So I got to start working with them, and I also got to participate. I submitted a video to teach a class for a virtual summit for my church. It's called Leading Saints, if you guys are familiar with that. And so I got to submit something for that, and they chose it. And so they said, we'd love you to be a part of this virtual summit. And they loved it so much, they said, we want to include it in something we've already done before, if you wouldn't mind. Anyway, it has just been such a good month, and I feel like things are moving forward. And I'm just thrilled about everything I have to say and all the passion I have for saying it. And I'm just so grateful to all of y'all for being here and for listening and for, trying to make the next step forward, because that is what this is all about. This is about going forward. And so I was just thinking about everything that happened in January, and I'm just super grateful, and I can't wait to see what happens in February. Anyway, and in February, inside my coaching program, I'm super excited. I want to invite you all to come join us, okay? So on February 17th, I am doing a new class, okay, inside my coaching program called Intentional Intimacy. And I'm super excited about this. This is where I'm going to dive into intimacy and what that looks like and how to be not only physically intimate, but more we're going to focus on being emotionally intimate with your spouse, even if he's addicted to pornography. So if you feel like you are struggling connecting to your spouse, if you feel like no matter what you try, you're just on a different level, like there's just this space between you guys that you can't seem to get past, like it is thick and it is heavy and you don't know how to swim through it, and it feels like you are just trudging along trying to connect with him and to communicate with him and to be intimate with him emotionally, then I really want to encourage you guys to come to this class. Okay, so you just go sign up on my website, jolenewynn.com. Sign up for my coaching program, my lifetime coaching program. You get access to everything for It never expires, okay? And this is a brand new class that I'm teaching, and I want to encourage you to join before February 17th. That way you can come to the call live. This will be a live Zoom call where I'm going to teach and then I'm going to coach. So come join the program before then so that you get to be on that call live. You get to learn from it and you get to ask all of your questions, okay? That's super, super powerful. So that, even if you join after the call, it will be recorded and you will get access to it in my coaching program. But coming live will enable you to be able to really get the one-on-one attention that you need from me and to start applying this and to ask questions about your personal situation, right? Your marriage, the things you are struggling with. And that way I can help you get through it and we can get you some clarification and help you move forward, because that's what my coaching program is all about. It's about going forward, okay? It's about being more than the porn addict's wife, getting out of this rut and routine where you are just living around your husband's addiction and start living more, okay? Being more, having more connection, having more of a life that you want, okay? So come join before February 17th, okay? So excited about that class. All right, ladies, I want to talk to you guys today about something that I have been planning on talking about for so long, probably over a year. I have this note on my phone. I've told you guys this before. I have a note on my phone where I keep podcast episode ideas, and it just gets longer and longer and longer. And I have had this idea on my note on my phone for so long, but it came up several times this week in our coaching calls, so I really wanted to bring it up. And that is the idea of the emotional scapegoat. Okay, so let's talk about what a scapegoat is, okay? A scapegoat, according to its definition, is a person who is blamed for the wrongdoings, faults, or mistakes of others, okay? So this actually comes from the Bible. I don't know if you guys know this, but this comes from the Bible in biblical times. I think it's in the book of Leviticus, but I'm not totally sure. The Jewish culture, the priest would symbolically lay the sins of the people on a goat, and then they would release it into the wilderness. So it was kind of just like this symbolic letting go of all their wrongdoings, all their sins, and releasing it, right? So that's where this comes from. Did you guys know that? I always find it super fascinating. Maybe you guys don't care. That's fine. But that's where this comes from, right? So it's the idea of placing the wrongdoings and faults on a goat, on something else other than yourself, and then releasing it and letting it go. So that's what a scapegoat is. When you talk about a scapegoat in your life, it's someone that is always blamed for the wrongs or faults of another person. So in this case, you guys, an emotional scapegoat, something that I came up with, right, is how we do this in our lives with our emotions. Okay, we like to have an emotional scapegoat. An emotional scapegoat is the one that we blame for how we are feeling. Okay, this is the person that gets blamed for all of our emotions. Okay, and it's super appealing to do this because then how we feel isn't our fault. Okay, this is kind of like being an emotional child. This is something that I dive into a lot more inside my coaching program, but I talk about this concept of emotional adulthood, which is taking responsibility for your emotions, for how you feel. Having an emotional scapegoat is the opposite. Okay, it's not taking responsibility for how you feel. It's blaming how you feel on someone else. Now, again, our brain really likes to do this because our brain doesn't like to take responsibility for how it feels because then it has to change things. Whereas if it just blames someone else, then it's not our fault and we don't have to change anything and it's all the other person's fault, right? However, the problem with this is that it leaves you at the mercy of the other person changing their behavior before you can change how you are feeling. Okay, so let's go through some examples to kind of clarify this so that you guys can get a clearer understanding of what I'm talking about, okay? So how do you know when you have an emotional scapegoat? Most of us know, but it's really when you're blaming someone else, okay? So if you ever hear yourself thinking or saying something like, I'm upset because he ... Okay, I'm frustrated because you ... Okay, I'm frustrated because you didn't take out the trash. I'm upset because you were on your phone all during dinner. Okay? These sound very logical. Our brain really likes to see the actions of other people and think that our feelings are a result of those actions, okay, or inactions. I'm upset because you didn't talk to me, right? Whether it's an action or an inaction, our brain likes to look outside of us to determine why it is we are feeling the way we are feeling. But we have to be in charge of our brain, be smarter than our brain, and remind ourselves that the reason that we feel however we're feeling isn't because of the other person. It's because of our thoughts about the other person. Okay? One of the ways that you guys can notice if you have an emotional scapegoat is if you see a pattern that repeats. If you say, every time I get with this person, I always leave feeling upset. Okay? If you've noticed that every single time you're with a certain person, there's the same result, that is an indication that you might be using them as an emotional scapegoat. I don't like to be around that person. Every time I get around that person, I end up feeling angry. Like they make me angry. I can't be around them. You guys ever heard that? You guys ever thought that about somebody? I can't be around that person. They just make me so upset, right? I can't bring this topic up because when I do, he does this and then I feel this way, right? I can't bring up his addiction because he gets defensive and I feel just so unheard, right? That's using him as an emotional scapegoat because you are blaming him or whoever the person is for how you are feeling. I think one of the ways that I saw this most in my own life was with my kids, okay? I've talked about this so many times, but I for sure used my kids as my emotional scapegoat, okay? The way that I was feeling was all their fault, okay? I was feeling frustrated because they didn't listen. No, I was feeling frustrated because of my thoughts about them not listening. Okay, but it's so much easier, like I said, for our brain to use other people as the reason why we're feeling the way that we do. But again, ladies, the reason that I want to really bring this up and harp on this, even though it's a very simple topic, is to make you guys aware that while this is super appealing in the moment, in the long run, what this does is leaves you going nowhere because you're leaving your emotional health at the responsibility of someone else. And that will never enable you to move forward and to process through all of this emotion because you will think that it is the other person's responsibility to fix. Does that make sense? Do you guys see what I'm saying? If you constantly blame your frustration on your children, then your children have to change in order for you not to feel frustrated. If you constantly blame your feeling hurt and rejected on the actions of your spouse, then your spouse has to change in order for you not to feel hurt and rejected. If you constantly blame you not fitting in to the women at church, then you have to wait for them to change before you feel like you fit in. Okay? And this will never, ever work. And you guys know this if you've listened to the podcast for more than a minute, because other people's actions cannot change how you feel because your feelings come from your thoughts. So one of the things that I really want to leave you guys with today, that I know this is a short and sweet episode, okay? But one of the things I want to leave y'all with today is I want to encourage you guys to notice where this is happening in your life, what relationships you are using, where you are using an emotional scapegoat. So like I said, one of the ways that you notice is if there's a lot of blame, okay? I'm upset because he ... okay? I'm frustrated when you ... okay? What I want you to notice is whenever there is blame, you might be using an emotional scapegoat. Okay, so I really want to encourage you to just look at this and don't do it with blaming yourself. Okay, self-judgment is not required here. Okay, when you start to notice these things and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mom. I can't believe I blame all of my feelings on my children. There's no need for self-judgment, okay? What I want to encourage you to do is simply be curious. That is really the best way to move forward when you're trying to start noticing the habits and patterns of your thoughts. Really be curious. Okay, I wonder if I do this. Let me look at it. Where do I do it? Okay. And start also, the other thing that I mentioned before is look at your relationships and see if you have patterns. Okay. See if you have patterns of, I can't be around this person because it makes me feel a certain way, right? Or if you just notice, every time I get around this person, I feel really tense. Every time I'm around this person, I feel really awkward. They make me uncomfortable. That's a huge one. If you guys ever thought that, I can't be around that person. They make me uncomfortable. Okay, that's an emotional scapegoat. It's blaming how you feel on the other person. Okay, so notice if your brain has a pattern, a habit of thinking of certain people in a certain way. Okay, my kids make me so frustrated. Okay, just notice how even just thinking that way will perpetuate that reality. Okay, this is called the confirmation bias, right? You guys remember this? I did a podcast episode on this. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. But a confirmation bias is basically when you tell your brain that if you believe something, your brain will always find evidence of it. Constantly. It will just keep finding evidence to prove itself true. So if you believe that your kids make you frustrated, your brain will keep finding evidence that your kids make you frustrated. If you believe that your husband is the reason for all of your emotions, then your brain will keep finding evidence of that. If you believe that your mother-in-law is a jerk and always makes you feel less than, then your brain will always find evidence of it, okay? So notice what you're telling your brain to find evidence for, because it will keep finding it, okay? Now, again, one of the things that I want to offer here is that if you're having trouble with this, come join coaching and I will help you do this because it's tricky to do. But I really want to encourage y'all to look at yourselves because this is where we find freedom, okay? If you notice that you are using someone as an emotional scapegoat, a child, your husband, anyone else in your life, I want you to ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Why am I blaming this person for how I feel? How is that serving me? Okay, when I say that, I mean, in what way is this helping you, right? Now, that's a tricky question. Again, you can come coach with me and I'll help you do this. But it's a tricky question because it doesn't always produce a positive result. It's not like everything that serves us produces something better. Okay, blaming someone else for how we feel doesn't necessarily produce a positive result. In fact, it keeps us a victim. However, it serves us because our brain likes to be the victim. It likes to think that it's other people's fault because it feels kind of good to blame people, right? It doesn't feel good to take responsibility for how we feel because our brain thinks that if we take responsibility for how we feel, then we have to blame ourselves for how we feel. And that is not true. I did another episode on that. It's called Blame versus Responsibility, I think. Go listen to that one. Okay, this is one of the reasons why your brain wants to blame other people for how you feel, because it thinks that if it takes responsibility, then that means it's its fault. It's our fault for how we feel. But it's not our fault. There is no blame required, ladies. Your feelings don't require blame, either on yourself or on someone else. We don't have to blame anyone. We can just notice and take responsibility and process it, and that's how we move forward. If you constantly blame your emotions on other people, especially if it's one person in particular, it is going to shape that relationship in such a way that it's almost impossible to move forward. Okay, so notice where you have an emotional scapegoat. Ladies, so many of us blame our husbands for how we feel because of what they did. I feel hurt and rejected because of what he did. And while that may be true, that his actions, like your feelings are a consequence, a result, it's actually coming from your thoughts. Okay, and the reason that this is the best news ever is because you have control of your thoughts. Ladies, you do not have to wait for your husband to change before you start feeling better. It will never happen the other way around. And using him as an emotional scapegoat is only going to keep you stuck. So if you're ready to move forward, if you're tired of feeling all the negative emotion that you feel, look at your life and ask yourself where you have an emotional scapegoat and start reversing it. Okay? Start taking responsibility for how you feel, not blame, but responsibility for how you feel. And that is how you move forward. Again, if you're struggling with this, come join coaching. I will help you do this. This is an advanced thing, okay? This is not coaching 101. This is like coaching 102, okay? So come join me and I will help you do this. But it's totally possible. It can be done. And I have complete confidence in all of you that you can do it. I love you, ladies, and I will see you next week on a brand new episode. So take care. All right, my ladies, if you enjoyed that podcast episode, you have to come join my coaching program. It is $2,500 for lifetime access to all of my online content and all of my coaching calls. Not only will you get one-on-one attention from me through coaching calls, you will also get to join this amazing community of women who are all working through this the exact same as you are. You'll also get 24/7 access to me through Slack, our private group messaging channel, and you will get access to all of the new material and content that I create. If you are ready to start applying everything that you've learned on the podcast and really take everything to the next level and start creating who you are as more than the porn addict's wife, I want to encourage you to come join my program today. Head to jolenewin.com, click on join, and you can join anytime. I can't wait to see you there.